Hello, I'm here at my Dream Art Yoga Studio on Peaks Island, and I just wanted to give you a tour today so you can see what I've got going on. So right across the way here is the beautiful Casco Bay, and off in the distance across the way is Portland, and then we just take the ferry over here to Peaks Island. And then here is the outside of the studio. My sign, all these beautiful flowers grow here all over the island. And this is the crow's nest. This is where I teach yoga, and I have my art on display, and I do tarot readings here, and all the magic happens. So come on inside and let's take a tour. So these are some prints of my artwork I have, and they're done on cloth and sewn onto these fabric boards. And I love coming up these stairs because there's this rope here that we use to close off the stairs. So when we're closed, we have the rope up. So when I open it up, I have to remove the rope, climb up, and I see this mermaid to greet me, and it's really feeling like I'm stepping onto a ship. So it's pretty cool in that sense. And then this is the deck. So I do some work here. I write my dream yoga course here. That's an online course I'm doing. And just wait for people to come and see the art. A lot of people are walking by all the time. And sometimes I have people on the deck here doing yoga. So this is the space. And the double doors open like this, so it's nice and open and airy. So you come inside, and I have on display all of my art I've created from the past year of all my dreams. And I'm going to share some of that with you so you can see some of my art. A lot of it is collage or mixed media. This is the Gospel According to the Dark. A really beautiful gospel that was written that you can find online, connected with the work The Way According to the Rose, I think it's called. The Way of the Rose, that's what it's called, by Clark Strand. Okay, so here's one of my dream drawings. And then what I've done is I've taken my dreams, and I have an old typewriter that I found at a consignment store, and I've been typing up a lot of my dreams. So it's got this cool feeling because, you know, you can't really erase anything. So there's a lot of mistakes that come up, but that's kind of like dreams, right? Like, you know, like what was happening right here. So it's like, huh? It's a little confusing. It jumbles your brain, but that's how dreams are. So it seems appropriate. This is a vision of a Native American I had while writing a Yoga Nidra, the CE5 Yoga Nidra that I created for my thesis. And in the thesis I studied how creating this particular Yoga Nidra intended for establishing a contact zone, a communication with non-human intelligence, how that could be effective in the dream time. So practicing the CE5 Yoga Nidra and then seeing what comes through in the nighttime dreams. And I thought it was so interesting that this spontaneous image of a Native American popped up, because oftentimes when you hear of the indigenous people talking about the ancestors, they may actually be talking about what's also called the star people, which are people or beings from other dimensions or planets. And a lot of times when the ceremony of the vision quest, the rite of passage of the vision quest, where there would be fasting, and then the initiated would be left in the woods alone, no food, and there would be an intention of having a vision or message received. And sometimes these would be thought to come from the star people, or oftentimes from the Pleiades, the beings from there. And this is my beautiful Naga Murti. She always comes with me to Peaks Island. She loves it here. There's definitely Naga energy on this island. And then here I've got my Hanumanji and my tarot decks. And then here are all of my dream books. And some of them are more consciousness books or close encounters, recollections of close encounters, but most of them are according to dreams. Highly recommend all of these. They're from all different eras. Some are very recent, some are very old, all different types of writers on different cultures or Western culture, science. Okay, so now moving on to this collage. This is a collage I did about a really super powerful dream I had about my father, who died when I was 16. And in the dream, he comes back, he returns, and he is coming home from the hospital finally, and it's like what he describes as a 27-year near-death experience. So like as if he was in a near-death experience for 27 years, and he comes back with gifts, and it was really incredibly powerful dream, in case you want to pause the video and read it there. And then here's a collage I did. This wasn't about one specific dream. This was more about an energy that was coming through in dreams of just a dystopian society. This is around January of 2025. So I'll give you a close-up of some of the different elements of the collage so you can see. And you can see here, I mean, this is a whole process. So, I mean, nothing is perfect. This is just mounted on cardboard. And the collage is not perfect. I was still figuring out what kind of glue was working and how to lay them out. So the imperfection is actually part of the work itself. It's really about establishing your own process. And then whatever comes out in the result is part of that. So even this whole room is part of my process, because the act of hanging this show was really so creative and intuitive and incredibly healing. Here's another piece I did. So this was from a hypnagogic vision. So it was kind of that liminal space between sleep and dream where I suddenly just had a vision like this. Statue of Liberty with her arm falling off. It was just a flash of a vision. So those are dreams too, or sometimes they're called dreamlets, when they happen in the hypnagogic state between wake and sleep, or if you're just waking up, it's called the hypnopompic state. And now this isn't actually from a dream. This was a letter that was left for me last summer here on Peaks Island. So the other side says, for the Dakini guardian of this temple of yoga from the wandering Lama Jali. So I didn't know what this was all about. I showed up on Sunday morning to the studio, and this letter was waiting for me, so I read it. Dear Dakini, I have been led to your door by mysterious signs after leaving a sacred Buddhist text on the 5th level of a tower at the navel of Peaks Island. It sits there on an octagonal altar with a blue heart. If you come soon, we may meet. Otherwise, you will find only my boots and my gold glasses, as my body will have dissolved into light. But the text will have remained there, and you are welcome to do with it what you like. May it be an inspiration that leads you deeper into the mystery of life, and may you prosper on your path to discovering your deepest nature. With sincere good wishes, Namajalu. And then I found the tower, and I found this Tibetan text, which was like shocking. I thought it was just going to be some kind of spiritual book, but it's like an actual Tibetan text, very old. I later found out it's the Mani Kaboom. So for those of you familiar with that lineage, it's about Avalokiteshvara, Chenrezig, the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, which Even if you don't know about the other things I just said, you most likely, or probably have heard the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. So that's that. That felt like a dream, this whole experience, and it still does. People don't believe me when I tell them this story, or they think I'm like making it up, or I'm crazy or something, but this really happened. And I still don't know who Lama Jalu is. So maybe I never will, but the magic of it is worth not knowing. Okay, here's another one. Okay. And then you'll see, this is the dream I've typed up. I'm walking in trails with Rory, that's my husband, but nowhere near New York, where I live in New York. We find this long, narrow rock and sit on it, and other people are sitting on it too. They are people I know from yoga, like Bibi. And so in my waking life, this was right around the time when Sharat passed away. He was the holder of the Ashtanga Vinyasa lineage. And he was in Virginia hiking with some students, and he had a sudden cardiac crisis and he died. So it was a very big shock to a big part of my yoga community. And when I told one of my friends about this dream, my friend Bibi, who was in the dream, she said the rock sounds like the exact rock that they were going to hike to when Sharat died. And I had no idea there was any rock or anything on the trails where they were going. So this dream, for me, I read it as being somewhat prophetic or synchronistic or telepathic, because there was some evidence of some psychic knowing there, something I didn't know, a place I never had been to, and it looked exactly like my dream. When I did look up Humpback Rock in Virginia, looks just like what it looked like in my dream. And I'd never seen it before. I did not know that's where Sharat was. And then here, I'm gonna take a look at this collage. And then this is the dream. So I have a crocodile thing. I have crocodiles coming into my dreams quite often. This is really a kind of interesting one. I had summoned this crocodile. I was summoning a dinosaur, and I could see this dinosaur coming up from under the water. It's like a little brontosaurus. And then, as soon as it reached the surface of the water, it turned into a crocodile. And then my daughter was in the water, and I was worried for her safety. And another parent next to me watching on the shore said, "Oh, my daughter's in there, but she's safe because I taught her how to fight off crocodiles. I taught her to kick them in the underbelly or in the genitals." And I'm like thinking to myself in the dream, oh wow, I never taught my daughter to do that. Maybe I haven't been a good parent. I haven't taught my daughter how to fight off a crocodile, which is kind of like ridiculous, right? And it just shows that, you know, we have these hidden fears of something like not having prepared your children enough, but something that you can never prepare them for everything. I would never think to have to prepare her for a crocodile attack, so why would I have told her those things? Okay, so now this one has a lot of elements to it. This is actually the only one I had professionally mounted. The other ones I did all myself on cardboard. It's kind of an experiment, just like I was saying, it's all part of the process. So, I mean, it came out pretty okay. It's nice and flat, but it's also wrinkly. So I'm not sure I would actually pay to do this again. Okay, so let's look at some of the different like close-up elements of this one. And I get my materials, this is funny, right? That's what I love about collage, you can actually be really funny with it. And this is like a crop circle, But at this point in time, I was having a lot of dreams about jellyfish and just synchronicities around jellyfish and jellyfish-shaped UFOs, which I had never known existed. And then all of a sudden it was like coming up all around me in all different ways. Which there was the jellyfish dream that I showed in the beginning of the video. That's one of those themes that was happening around this time. This was the end of December of 2024. And then here's the dream. I'm at a tag sale with some other people. And they're all amazed at the fancy clothes the woman was selling. All expensive brands. Someone said, "What am I doing wrong? How did she get all of these clothes?" I told her it's all a show, it's all a scam. The money people have is like monopoly money. You can't actually spend it on what you want. It's an illusion that you can actually buy what you desire, because the corporations aren't yours and the money isn't either. It's an illusion. It's like monopoly money because you only use it in this game of capitalism. And it's only valuable inside this game that has been engineered to keep you consuming. That's why we need art, because art transcends that. This was the Santa UFO, like this idea of like Santa in the sky as a UFO, because it is an unidentified flying object. And there's the jellyfish UFO again. There's another version of that. And this helicopter. And it was really cool because I had this other dream about these UFOs on Peaks Island last year. I had this dream earlier this year. And there was one jellyfish-shaped one and a helicopter. And I actually didn't realize that I had those two things in this. I don't think I did that on purpose. But then this summer, my husband was on the ferry, and he and some other people saw this mysterious light in the sky, and they were like, I'm gonna show you the UFO one again. They saw this light in the sky, and everyone's like, what is that? And it was very mysterious. And then these other people, all agreeing it was kind of an anomalous thing. And then one person said, oh, that's just a helicopter shining its spotlight. And then everybody kind of shut up about it, but maybe it wasn't. And then I have two different things of jellyfish UFOs with helicopters in them. And then, so I thought of those two dream instances, this collage and then the other dream, as soon as he told me that story last week. I thought it was so cool. Okay, here's another one. This was a yoga nidra, the very deep yoga nidra I did with my teacher, Michelle Lowe. And we did it on David Lynch's birthday. And it was right after he died. And I'm deeply inspired by him and his work. So in this vision, I was kind of traveling through the cosmos with David Lynch, and after we smoked a cigarette together, of course, and we're flying through space, and there's like, it's space, but it's also flowers everywhere. The owls are not what they seem. There he is, the inspiration. Okay, and now this one. This is actually about a fairy tale that was kind of coming up in relation to a dream I had at one point. But the fairy tale is called The Skeleton Woman. So I highly encourage you to read that story. It's like a medicinal fairy tale. So it can really help heal aspects of the psyche. Even if you're not sure what it means, it speaks to a deeper level on the more collective unconscious. So The Skeleton Woman. Okay, here's another crocodile. Told you, crocodile dreams for me. It's a recurring dream. And in this dream, I'm looking at a gigantic crocodile statue with its mouth open really wide. And she's showing her big, sharp, dagger-like teeth. Even though it's just a metal sculpture, I'm frightened of it. It's provocative and kind of thrilling. I bravely get closer to get a better look. I'm so filled with curiosity and wonder and a bit of dread that I become overwhelmed with these emotions and all happening at once. And I suddenly feel like I'm a child again. As I get closer, I begin to notice something strange. Way back in the crocodile's throat, I see what looks like sky and a horizon. The vision pulls me closer, even though I'm terrified of this crocodile statue. The feeling of curiosity eclipses all of the feelings of fear, and I put my head all the way inside of the mouth of the crocodile. My head keeps going deeper into the crocodile's throat, and then it's like I'm traveling through a portal. Suddenly I'm in a different landscape completely. It's what looks like New York City in the aftermath of 9/11. Everything looks gray and there's smoke. Ashes rise into the air, complete destruction. I look around and everything looks hopeless and gray. Okay, so on a lighter note, this is one of my notebook boxes. So I have one here, and then this one I'm displaying the Lama Jalu story right now. And then I have the other UFO story here, but they're all notebooks, okay? And then I have them, hanging here and closed with binder clips so people don't go through them because they are my personal journals. But what it allows me to do is I get to change the display. So today I have these up. This was an orca dream that I had. It was a pretty cool dream. Baby orcas in this pool, like one of those petting pools that they have at the aquarium, or touch pools, whatever they call them. And I was afraid to actually touch this baby orca coming to the surface because it was a killer whale. Okay, and then this is an image I drew of Abraxas, which is a very kind of perfectionist or perfected masculine energy. And then it has to do with all of the polar opposites, the holding of the opposites, fire, water, the Naga energy versus the Narasimha energy of the lion-headed god energy. And then I have written out, I have here the profound transcendence of wisdom, and then I have part of the Heart Sutra written. Matter is voidness. Voidness is matter. Voidness is not other than matter. Neither is matter other than voidness. Likewise, sensations, conceptions, mental functions, and consciousnesses are also void. Shariputra. Thus, all things are voidness, signless, uncreated, undecreased, stainless, impeccable, undecreased, and unincreased. Shariputra. Thus in voidness, there are no matter, no sensation, no conception, no mental function, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no no form, no sound, no scent, no taste, no idea, no suffering, no origination, no cessation, no path, no intuitive wisdom. Om Gate Gate, Pada Gate, Pada Samgate, Bodhisvaha, the Heart Sutra. And then here, I call this one the Witch Wound. This is a favorite. Everybody seems to really like this one. I think it's the big eye. So cool, right? And then we have these bad bitches. Smoking. It's actually a big sign, symbol of feminine authority and rebellion, self-authority of the feminine. Some tarot. And all these beautiful women. Okay, and then up here, this was a vision of just like all these different women dancing and playing music. It's a meditative vision. And meditation state is another state of dreaming. Visions and images that you see in meditations are also dreams. It's the dream time. It's not just you have to be asleep and in the REM state. It's a whole different realm. So if you're in the dream time, you can see all sorts of images. So this one's called Brat, and this is just an energy I was working with, integrating this kind of inner brat, right? Which can show up in so many ways. This was so fun to make this one. Definitely one of my favorites. The breakdown comes when you stop controlling yourself and want the release of a bloodbath. Charlie XCX, who brought herself. I mean, this woman, what a hero. What a hero she is. This picture always reminds me of my friend who's my roommate in college. Looks like it could be her when she was a kid. Debbie Harry. I mean, only Martha Stewart could say something like that, right? Dream yoga sign. Okay, and then we move on to the mandala wall. Okay. So this is the mandala wall. You'll see here, there's a thread connecting them. So this is a sequence. These are all in order. This is the first one here. And then we follow the line. So this is a progression using mandalas as a form of art therapy. So wrestling with something, emotional or interpersonal, whatever is kind of making me unbalanced. I do this process of mandala making. Give workshops on this process, but what it does is it channels whatever this charged energy is that you're working with into the paper so that you can release it. And then it's really like a medicine. You feel so much better after just putting everything out on the paper. And there are no rules, you just get guided into the process, and then whatever comes out, comes out. So I'll give some close-ups of some of the more collage type pieces. This I did with a lot of different things. There's some paint, markers. There's a few different kinds of markers I really like to use. I like to use Poscas and Copic markers and like thin pens, Sharpies. I love markers. This one was done with crayons, or pastels actually. This one was particularly satisfying. And this is probably one of my favorites. My husband was looking at this one and he was like, that looks like Trump's profile. And I was like, no. I have this old book that I got that was being thrown away, so it's for collage. And it just has pictures of all these vintage dolls in it. It's so creepy. I love to use it. So these pieces in this sequence, this was basically one a day for about a week. And it's just like a progression working through something. And then these on the bottom, these were more like when I first started doing the mandalas. These were my first few, but they're not as kind of connected as the top row. This is the sequence of them in a timeline though. I'll just zoom in on some of these. The collage ones are cool. I love these flamingos here. And on this I did a bit of sewing. Then there's some spray paint on this one too. This was really kind of experimental, this one. That's the mandala wall. And that's pretty much the space. I've got my yoga mats for when I teach in the morning. And this is my first art show, Peaks Island at the Crow's Nest. Thank you for visiting me. I hope you can come in person. Bye.